Welcome back to the deep dive. Today, we are doing something a little different.
We are.
Usually, we take a stack of reports, maybe some articles, and we analyze where things are right now.
On trends.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But today we are jumping into a time machine.
We are indeed. And we aren't going to Mars or some distant galaxy. We're going to Wisconsin.
Specifically, Sheboygan County. And I want you to just close your eyes for a second. Imagine it's the year 2036. You're standing in the middle of Sheboygan. The lake is there. The bratwurst is probably still there. But the way the city functions, the way it feels to live there, has just completely transformed.
It doesn't look or feel like the Sheboygan you know today.
Yeah.
And what we're exploring is really the blueprint for that transformation. It's a concept they call Horizon 7.
Horizon 7. It sounds like a sci-fi movie title, doesn't it?
It really does.
But this isn't fiction. This is a comprehensive planning vision for the future of civic infrastructure. And look, before you hear the word infrastructure and, reach for the snip button because you think we're going to talk about asphalt density or sewer pipes, stop.
Please stop. Because that was the first thing I had to get past, too. When urban planners say infrastructure, they almost always mean concrete.
Right.
But Horizon 7 defines infrastructure as a physical and social lattice.
A lattice. I love that imagery. It suggests something, interwoven.
Exactly. The core shift here, and this is really the mission of this deep dive, is to explore a world where the definition of a resident has fundamentally changed.
Okay.
I mean, think about how you interact with your city right now.
Yeah.
In the traditional model, the one we're all living in today, you and I are.
Taxpayers.
Or customers.
Or customers, yeah.
Right. I pay my property taxes, I pay my fees, and in exchange, the government delivers a service. They plow the snow, they pick up the trash. It's a transaction. I pay, you provide. But in the Horizon 7 vision for 2036, that whole transaction is obsolete. Residents aren't customers. They are active producers. They are citizens in, the most active classical sense of the word.
And this leads us to the central tension of this entire vision. And honestly, this is the part that gave me goosebumps.
Yeah.
This plan tackles the question, what does society look like when having a job is no longer the primary organizing principle of your life?
That is the big one, the post-job society. And to be clear, we aren't saying nobody works. We're not saying everyone just sits around.
No, of course not.
But we are saying that in this future, your 9-to-5 W-2 employment isn't the only thing that gives you access to a good life or to dignity or social status.
So we are going to look at how a community actually functions in that reality. We're going to talk about libraries that have basically turned into factories.
We're going to talk about a transit system that's completely free because they stopped treating it like a business.
And a totally new way of making decisions.
It sounds optimistic, maybe even a little utopian. But as you go through the notes, the planning philosophy behind it is incredibly grounded. It's a shift from service delivery government doing things for you to empowerment infrastructure.
Helping you do things for yourself.
For yourself and your neighbors.
Okay, let's unpack this. I think we need to see it to believe it. And the first stop on our tour of 2036 is a landmark anyone in Sheboygan would recognize, the Mead Public Library.
But it's not the Mead Library, you might remember. I mean, libraries have been evolving for decades, right? First, it was just books.
Then computers.
Right? In the 90s and 2000s, they added computer labs. Then came the coffee shops. But in Horizon 7, Mead has become something called a citizen production hub.
Production hub? That sounds industrial.
It is. If you look back at the 2020s, we saw the start of the maker movement. Libraries started adding maker spaces.
Sure, I've seen those.
Maybe they had a 3D printer or an Imaginarium like Mead did. But usually, let's be honest, those were for hobbyists. You print a little plastic Yoda figurine or maybe engrave a keychain.
Right, it was novelty stuff. But by 2036, this has scaled up massively. And the source material explicitly uses the word manufacturing.
Yeah.
We aren't talking about trinkets. Residents are repairing appliances, printing replacement parts for their vehicles, even sewing clothing using high-end automation tools.
Think about the economic implication of that shift. In our current economy, if your blender breaks or, the handle snaps off your car door, what are you?
I'm a consumer with a problem. I have to go to Amazon or the auto parts store and buy a new one.
Exactly. Your only option is to consume. In the Horizon 7 model, you take the broken item to the library and you fix it. You transition from a consumer to a producer.
And you have access to industrial-grade tools, CNC machines, laser cutters, heavy-duty sewing rigs.
Things you personally could never afford to have in your garage. But because the community owns them collectively, Everyone has access.
And that leads to this concept of the library of things. I love this because it just challenges the American obsession with owning everything.
The list is wild.
It's not just books and DVDs. You can check out a heavy-duty power drill. You can check out a thermal camera to inspect your house for insulation leaks.
A cargo e-bike if you need to move a couch.
Which is amazing.
This fundamentally changes the cost of living. That is the key insight here. The philosophy is you don't need to own everything to use everything.
It just makes so much sense. I mean, I have a power drill that I think I've used twice in 5 years. It just sits there.
Exactly. It's dead capital. If you only need a heavy-duty impact driver twice a year, why buy it? Why store it? If the library stocks it, your personal expenses go way down.
So you can live well on less income.
Because the community infrastructure absorbs that capital cost.
It's the ultimate sharing economy. But, you know, unlike the sharing economy apps we have now, where some companies always taking a 30% cut, this is public. It's the commons.
And it's not just about the physical stuff. There's a human element here that I found really, really touching. The source describes the knowledge commons.
This is where we see that social lattice coming into play.
It is.
Sheboygan has this rich history of engineering and manufacturing, right? You've got companies like Kohler, Bemis, Masters Gallery.
Major players.
In 2036, you have retired engineers from those giants who aren't just sitting at home watching daytime TV.
No, they are at the library. They're holding repair cafes and design labs.
So you've got this incredible intergenerational transfer of skills. You have, say, a 70-year-old retired mechanical engineer from Kohler teaching a 20-year-old how to fabricate a custom part for a bicycle.
Precisely. And they're not doing it for a wage. They're doing it for status, for that feeling of utility, for community connection. It solves a labor shortage, not by hiring more people, but by unlocking skills that were previously just trapped in retirement.
It turns the library into a university of practical skills.
It really does.
So the library helps you make things. But you also need to get around. And in Sheboygan County 2036, the way people move has been completely rethought. We need to talk about Shoreline Metro and this idea of the connectivity mesh.
This is probably the most radical policy shift in the entire Horizon 7 document. By 2036, the concept of paying a fare to ride the bus is just gone.
It's obsolete.
Completely obsolete.
I track this in the notes. It seems to have evolved from the student bus pass back in, 2025?
Right. It started with kids, then it expanded to seniors, and eventually the logic just took over and it became the resident mobility pass for everyone. But the philosophy is what really matters here.
They stopped looking at public transit as a business.
Yes, which is how most cities view it now.
Oh, all the time. The bus system is losing money. We hear that constantly.
We do. But in 2036, they view transit like streetlights.
That is such a useful analogy. I mean, nobody walks down the street, looks at a streetlight and says, wow, that lamp is losing a ton of money.
Right.
You don't put a quarter in the lamppost to see the sidewalk?
Exactly. We accept that streetlights are essential infrastructure because they provide safety and usability for the city. They enable everything else to happen. In 2036, mobility is viewed the same way. Moving people to community centers, to parks, to volunteer sites, that movement generates social capital. The value of a connected community just outweighs the $1.50 you'd get from a fare box.
But here's the challenge. Sheboygan County isn't just the city of Sheboygan. It's got a lot of rural areas, farmland, small villages.
Right.
How does this connectivity mesh handle someone living out in, say, Random Lake or Oostburg? Usually those folks are totally left out of transit conversations.
That's the rural-urban stitch. In the past, if you were elderly and lived in a rural township, you were often isolated if you couldn't drive. You were just stuck. In this 2036 vision, they use dynamic microtransit fleets.
Which sounds fancy, but looking at the specs, it's basically autonomous shuttles, right?
Yes, autonomous on-demand shuttles. They don't run on empty fixed routes where a giant bus is driving around with no one on it.
Wasting fuel.
They're dynamic. They connect those outlying areas to the main arteries in Sheboygan. The system comes to you.
So it solves that isolation problem. It's not about forcing everyone to move to the city center. It's about stitching the county together.
So that geography isn't a barrier to participation. And then for the shorter trips, they have the last mile fleet.
Publicly owned e-bike docks.
Standard at every major intersection and trailhead. The source mentions the interurban trail and the old Plank Road Trail specifically.
Which, that doubles as health infrastructure, really. If you can grab an e-bike to get to the grocery store or the library, you're moving your body. You're outside.
You aren't sitting in a car in traffic. And again, bringing it back to economics, it reduces the need for private car ownership.
Oh, that's huge.
If you have the shuttles for long distances and e-bikes for short distances, the massive expense of owning, insuring, and maintaining a private car becomes optional for a lot of people.
Right.
That puts thousands of dollars back into a family's pocket every year.
Okay, so we've got the library for making things and the transit system for moving things, but I want to ground this. I want to know what it actually feels like to live in this version of 2036. And the source material gives us a profile of a resident named Sarah.
Sarah is a great example to walk through. She's 58 years old, lives in Sheboygan Falls, and her profile notes that she was formerly a data entry worker.
And here is the kicker. Sarah is technically unemployed. Her job ended 3 years ago because of automation. Now, in our current world, that sounds like a crisis. 58-year-old unemployed woman, that's a headline about economic hardship.
For sure. But in 2036, the narrative is completely different. Let's walk through her day. It starts at 9:00 a.m. She takes one of those fare-free autonomous shuttles we just talked about. She goes to the Mead Library Hub.
But she's not there to look for a job on Monster.com. She's not printing resumes.
No. She's using a laser cutter. She's fabricating parts for a community garden project. And the materials cost her $0 because they're part of the civic allowance.
So she's being productive.
She is producing something of value for her neighborhood, using the community's capital equipment.
Then, at 11:00 a.m., she engages in digital citizenship. This part kind of blew my mind a little. She logs into a civic app to vote.
But not for a president or a mayor?
No. She's voting on how to allocate the surplus energy from a solar cooperative.
We can get into the mechanics of that system in a minute, but look at her agency here. She reviews proposals, and she votes to expand the e-bike network. She is directly shaping her environment.
She isn't just complaining about potholes on social media. She is allocating resources to fix things.
Yeah. Then 1:00 p.m., she heads to lunch at a neighborhood hub. This is her third place, not work, not home. And she's eating with young parents, with the retirees, and the note says she helped prep the meal the day before.
It's a community of care. She contributed labor yesterday. She enjoys the fruit of that labor today.
And finally, at 3:00 p.m., she uses her old professional skills. She's mentoring a group of students on project management.
And she isn't doing it for free, exactly. She's paid in community credits.
Right. This is a crucial distinction. She isn't earning U.S. dollars, but she is earning credits she can use to buy fresh produce at the local market.
So step back and look at Sarah. By 2024 standards, she is unemployed. She has no job. But in 2036...
she is connected, she is healthy, she is productive, she is a pillar of Sheboygan County.
It completely reframes the idea of value. She isn't valuable because she generates profit for a corporation. She's valuable because she contributes to the social lattice.
And that is only possible because the infrastructure, the library, the transit, the civic app, is designed to support her as a citizen, not just a consumer.
Let's talk about that app she used, the Civic Operating System. This is kind of the brain of the operation.
This is the shift from government as a black box to an open platform. Today, we might have dashboards. The source mentions ClearGov from 2025, where you can look at a budget. You can see where the money went.
Right, that's passive transparency.
It's like looking through a window at a store display.
But 2036 is active. It talks about participatory budgeting.
Right. It's not just looking at the numbers. It's Sheboygan neighborhood pride groups evolving into formal assemblies. They propose projects. We need a park on the north side, or we need a community kitchen on the south side. And the county funds them based on those direct votes.
It's putting the budget directly in the hands of the people who live there, and it goes beyond just money. There's this idea of the data commons.
This is for the tech-savvy residents. The city's data energy usage, transit patterns, budget flows, it's all open API.
And for listeners who aren't techies, an API is basically like a plug. It allows different software programs to talk to each other.
Exactly. It means local high school coders or civic hackers can build apps on top of the city data. If you want to build an app that helps people optimize their energy use, the data is just there. You don't need to file a Freedom of Information Act request and wait 6 months.
It fosters a culture of civic innovation. And another crucial point here is governance as service. The source mentions that serving on local boards isn't just a hobby for the wealthy who have free time. It's viewed as prestigious post-employment work, and it comes with stipends.
That is huge.
Yeah.
If you have to work 2 jobs to survive, you can't sit on the zoning board on a Tuesday night. You just can't.
It's possible.
But if you get a stipend, if it's treated as valuable labor, Suddenly that table is open to everyone. It ensures that the decision-making body actually looks like the community, not just the people who can afford to volunteer.
Now, we mentioned where Sarah had lunch, the neighborhood hub. These aren't just community centers with a ping pong table and a vending machine.
No, these are the new third places. The SEEDC, the Sheboygan County Economic Development Corporation, has a model called community enhancement, and the goal is to break down segregation.
Meaning we don't just put all the old people in a senior center and all the kids in a youth center.
Right. That segregation is terrible for society. These are intergenerational hubs. You have teenagers learning coding right alongside retirees. You have toddlers playing in the same space. It rebuilds that village mentality where different generations actually know each other.
And they are practical, too. The community kitchens idea, industrial kitchens where people can do communal meal prep.
Think about the efficiency of that. Instead of 50 families cooking 50 separate dinners in 50 separate kitchens, using 50 ovens, heating up 50 houses,
Come together.
you prep meals in bulk. It reduces food waste. It reduces energy costs. And crucially, it combats the loneliness epidemic. It turns meals on wheels into meals together.
And they serve as a safety net, literally, the resilience stations.
This is the hard infrastructure part. I mean, we live in Wisconsin. Winter storms happen.
Oh, yeah.
These centers have solar microgrids and battery storage. If there's a massive winter storm and the main grid goes down, these hubs stay warm, they stay lit, they become the backbone of community safety.
It really is a complete ecosystem. You have the library for tools, the bus for movement, the app for decisions, and the hub for connection.
And when you put it all together, you see the synthesis. Designing this stuff isn't just about balancing a budget sheet. As the source material says, when you design the bus system, you are building the circulatory system of the community.
And when you push for that open data transparency,
You are building the nervous system.
it allows the community to think and act for itself.
That is the shift. From passive consumption, waiting for the bus, waiting for the government to fix the pothole, buying the new appliance, to active production, you are fixing the appliance. You are voting on the budget. You are the infrastructure.
It is a beautiful vision, I'll be honest. It makes me want to move there. But, we always like to leave our listeners with something to chew on.
Of course.
Because even in a vision this detailed, there are always questions and, frankly, some giant elephants in the room.
There are. And the biggest one here is the economic transition. We talked about Sarah not having a traditional job, but we also mentioned companies like Kohler and Masters Gallery. They still exist in this timeline.
Right. If fewer people are working traditional 9-to-5s and people are buying less stuff because they are sharing tools at the library, how do those businesses adapt?
Exactly.
If I'm not buying a drill because I borrowed one, the drill manufacturer sells fewer drills.
That is the friction point. And how does the tax base survive? If you aren't collecting income tax in the same way, how do you fund the free buses and the stipends?
The source does hint at this.
It hints at it, suggesting a move toward taxing automation or land value rather than labor. But it leaves it as an open question. How do we sustain the civic infrastructure without the traditional revenue models we use today?
That is the trillion-dollar question. Can you have a post-growth local economy inside a growth-obsessed global economy?
It's a huge challenge, but that is what 2036 is for, right? To figure that out, the goal isn't to have all the answers today, but to ask better questions about what we want tomorrow.
I want to thank you for taking this trip to the future with us. It's wild to think that some of these seeds, the maker spaces, the trail systems, are already there in Sheboygan today.
They are.
It's just a matter of how they grow.
The future is just the present, evenly distributed and given time to mature.
I love that. Thanks for listening to this deep dive into Horizon 7. Close your eyes, imagine your own version of 2036, and we will catch you on the next one.